Ladies and gentlemen, as I sit here preparing to open up this pumpkin pie porter Deer by Deep River, I can't help but think about today and just the past 2 weeks, in that we have gotten not just a mobile game that's actually really good. We also got a brand new trailer that has a ton of information in it. And then we got interview after interview after interview with even more and more information. And now an embargo's been lifted, and we've gotten to see actual gameplay footage and commentary from those limited few who got to go and play the demo to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Let me just open this up. Oh my goodness. And, splattered somewhere a little bit. Alright, let's get a cozy on there so it's nice and warm. I mean nice and cool. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the FailroadExpress. And I can't wait to start talking about all this information that we've gotten here. Just within the past week, I was planning on making a series of videos dissecting the trailer that came out last week. And every time I was going to make a video, hey, what's up, Troubadour? Every time I was going to make a video, more information came out, and I was like, oh, well, that video I was planning just became irrelevant. And then I would think about another video. Tu bois une bière? Yep. That's what I said. I don't know Troubadour, but it's good to have you in the chat. I've got it on beer. Bière, of course. Of course. It is, I don't know if you caught it at the very beginning. It's the Pumpkin Pie Porter by Deep River. It's actually decent. And I'll be sure to take a sip every time I mention something that I got wrong in my theory crafting for this game. Are you drinking a beer? Yeah. I like, you like Boddington? Okay. This is my first time trying a pumpkin pie porter, and so I was really looking forward to some deep flavors in there. And I'll say that the flavors there's definitely some notes in there, but it's not quite as flavorful as I thought it would be. It's like Guinness, only it's only lighter and creamier. Okay, that sounds good. But yeah, so yeah, be sure and put in the chat, and anytime you can think of that I made a theory, and this most recent gameplay footage and interviews just completely got it, disproved my theories. And one of the biggest ones, I need to go ahead and start playing this video. I forgot I meant to start playing it before the stream started. Yeah, one of the biggest ones is old Sephiroth. I was so certain that Sephiroth wouldn't be playable. Before we go any further, of course, I rarely ever say this, but I'm going to say it this time. Spoilers abound in this video, because we're going to dissect as much as we can about some of this new gameplay footage. And the gameplay footage I have right here is from Maximilian Dude's channel. So you might see a couple of ads pop up that I quickly clicked off of. But yeah, I really enjoyed watching Maximilian Dude's take, because he was one of the ones who actually got to go to Square Enix and play the demo, the two different sections. It's beautiful. I saw the demo too. It was amazing. Yeah. When I saw that, I was thoroughly impressed. There are only two things that I've seen so far where I'm just like, I absolutely don't like it. One of those things is I'll be honest, a theory that I got wrong, and that was that Sephiroth would not be playable. I think that's the biggest thing so far that I've gotten wrong. So in the trailer that we got last week, we saw that Sephiroth's name. His name was in the UI when we were seeing this flashback sequence, and we'll see it here in a minute as well. But we were in this flashback sequence, and the player was controlling Cloud in the trailer. But Sephiroth's name was in there too, and he was doing a combo attack with us, a synergy move. And then the embargo lifted on these demos, and everyone's coming out with it now. Sephiroth is indeed playable. Now, I disagree with that decision, but you know what? I have to trust that the devs at Square Enix have a plan. They have a reason, a great reason for why they made Sephiroth playable. Playing as Sephiroth was amazing. I wonder who the infantryman is. Good one, Troubadour. I'm truly too hyped to want more. I know, man. Wolf Tales. I'm fed, mate. Yeah. Like I said, I feel like we are entering, if Remake was the beginning of the Silver Age, a new Silver Age for Final Fantasy, it feels like we might actually be entering a new Golden Age as well. Because just in the past 2 weeks, we've gotten so much information that I would have expected to be spread out over the course of a month or two. So much information that I honestly haven't been able to keep up with it. And I do this part-time, and I try. But all these interviews, and then the gameplay footage. And right there it is. Sephiroth, the controller switches to Sephiroth, and you get to play as Sephiroth. And from what I hear, he has a really well thought out ability set. So, I'm glad that if they're going to implement him, they're going to do a good job. And I'm not going to be one of those people who was like, no, Sephiroth shouldn't be playable, so I'm not going to play as him when this game comes out. No, I will play as him, even though I still have qualms about him being playable. And I know a lot of people are going to be super hyped that he is playable. I hope it isn't just fan service, but so far, you can absolutely tell from watching the demo footage from these different people that Cloud in this flashback is remembering Zack and superimposing himself as Zack. And so they did a really good job of that. And I gotta say, Cody Christensen so far has done an excellent job voicing Cloud. In Remake, Cloud is really sort of internalized and sort of subdued. He subdues himself even though he does show emotion. But this really does show, and I was worried about that for, in the future when Cloud unwinds and becomes him true self. I was like, is he going to be able to emote that for Cloud? And this shows that I think that he will. Wolf Tales, when you realize his moves are a lot of moves that first appeared in Smash, and then you realize this has been programmed for a very long time. Mind blown. Oh yeah. I actually have not played a version of Smash Brothers where you get to play as Cloud or Sephiroth. But that is interesting. I didn't know that some of those movesets were in Smash. I do recognize that some of the Sephiroth's moves are from the final battle of Remake. Of course, the Octaslash and some of his attack combos looked very reminiscent of what he had in Remake. Troubadour says, honestly, if they can do this with FF7, I can't wait until they decide to remake FF6. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Octaslash is a move in Smash 2. Okay. Thanks for the info. I have a Switch. It's just that I spend so much time on the PS5 because, once again, it's like with what little time I have, I'm still playing Final Fantasy XVI. And for the past 2 weeks, I have not played Final Fantasy 16 because I've been trying to keep up with all this information coming out. Let me back it up here, though. Let me back it up here, back to the Cloud and Sephiroth and the flashback. So yeah, there's, I mentioned that I have qualms with Sephiroth being playable. I feel like it, and if you are excited that you get to play with him, that's cool. I don't mind that you feel that way. But I feel like it cheapens his character. And if you disagree with me, that's fine too. But to me, remembering back to the original game and knowing that you get to meet Sephiroth for the first time in this flashback, and he is so much more powerful than you, and he saves your ass like in every battle. In every battle, you are so overwhelmed, and he's just there one-shotting things that can one-shot you. That left a huge impression. Troubadour just started playing FF16 a week ago. I hope you enjoy it. It's definitely a different Final Fantasy, and I can safely say that once I'm finally finished with the game, I'll definitely come out with a review of it, with the things that I enjoyed and didn't enjoy. It's okay. We don't have to agree on everything. Yeah, and I'm glad that there are people who watch my channel who do have differing opinions, but yeah, and seeing this, seeing how similar Cloud and Sephiroth's levels are, it is clear that Cloud is several levels lower than Sephiroth, but he's still really close, and he's obviously closer than he's going to be once the flashback is over with, and we're in the present day, and we're with the main party, and he's back to being level nothing. And I do understand that, once again, they're perhaps going for hey, Cloud is secretly Zack, and Zack was a Soldier First Class, and a Soldier First Class is a badass, even if he's not as badass as Sephiroth. It's because Cloud is superimposing himself as Zack, yeah, as you mentioned, yeah. And that does make sense, but even if we were superimposing ourselves as Zack, I still would like to have seen Sephiroth be like in the 8,000s, or even 9999, even capped out at that, just to show that Sephiroth wasn't just a powerful first soldier, or a soldier first class, but also that he was even more powerful than you could have gotten during your first playthrough of Remake. But I do understand why they're doing this, and once again, they do such a super job so far from what little we've seen of making Cloud, feel like he's someone different in this flashback, and it's wonderful seeing this internalization, or this, how Cloud internally thinks he looks externalized in this way, because he's telling this story to all of his party members, and of course Tifa also knows the truth, and it's going to be curious to see what his party members do see. Honestly, I was hoping that we could reach level 100 and have more than 10k HP like they do in Trails of Cold Steel, yeah. And yeah, Flashback Cloud feels like Zack with Cloud skin mod. Yeah, it is. It truly does. And, I know that's what they were going for. And for those of us who've played Crisis Core, it's a huge Easter egg. It is a huge Easter egg. And here's my other thing that I think I was wrong about as well. I think in one of the videos I theorized that we were going to be able to play as Vincent and Cid, and through various interviews that have come out, we've learned that Vincent is only going to be a guest member, and that means that Cid is also just going to be a guest member. And so that when I realized that, I was just like, if they could make Sephiroth playable for a single chapter, they can make Vincent playable for the rest of the game, because Red 13 at the end of Remake, there was literally just one chapter where you really get to use, where you really would have gotten to use Red 13, and then you get to the final battles. Rebirth, on the other hand, by the time you get to Vincent, there's still going to be a plethora of things to do, and what I would consider to be 3 chapters worth, maybe 4 chapters worth of content still left in the game that you could have played as Vincent and leveled him up. Sid, there would have been a little bit less, especially if we do still visit Rocket Town, which, based on most recent information that came out, it does sound like the Tiny Bronco is going to be our mode of transportation in the water, which is also something that I was like, are they really going to do that? Let's see. Troubadour, what would it be? What would be really cool is if all the costumes in Ever Crisis could be DLC for Remake and Rebirth. That would, oh man, I don't see all of them being it, but having seen the footage that Cloud is in, like this just leisure outfit, like a vacation outfit, it does make me think that we are going to see some skins from Ever Crisis. Let's see, I want that Zack Prince and Aerith Princess outfit. I haven't gotten either of those, or even seen either of those outfits in Rebirth yet, but I haven't completed all the storyline stuff. I wonder how Zack's scenario will play out. Will he have his own party members, such as Kunzel, Luxior, Cisne, other players like Turks like Gun Knife, and maybe Sonon is still alive in his timeline? Once again, when you're messing with this timeline stuff, there's so much that could happen. I do wonder, though, I do feel like if Zack ever did end up having any guest members, that they would just be, they would be guest members, just like, Red 13 was. Or they will be, extremely insignificant in combat, where it's really Zack holding his own. But we just have to wait and find out. But yeah, that is another thing that they've sort of teased as well, that Zack is going to have at least one chapter to himself, or that we get to play as him. And so once again, it's like you're giving us a chapter where we can play as Zack, but we can't play as Vincent. Like, come on. It's gonna, I know you guys, I know a lot of people, including myself, are gonna be like, there's Vincent, he's right there. I can reach out and touch him, but I can't play as him. I got to play as Sephiroth, but I can't play as Vincent. So that's kind of my gripe in terms of it. Some things that I am really thrilled to see are just how this exploration is going to go, and we did get to see, not in this footage, but in some other people's gameplay demo footage, we do get to see that this is where Yuffie is most likely going to join the party. So I got that. I knew that it was going to be somewhere in the Junon region where Yuffie joined the party, just based on trailer information that we had. I think at the very least, Zack should have accompanying party members. Maybe Troubadour. They also are alluding to that Genesis will appear and other characters in the compilation. The interviews where they said anyone who hasn't appeared in the, here's another commercial, anyone who hasn't appeared in the current trailers or gameplay footage, we can't talk about yet. So, and I get that maybe that means that, oh man, there is going to be something in there, because why would they say, oh, well, we can't talk about them yet? There's still a possibility that they don't appear, at least not in Rebirth, but I imagine at this point in a trilogy, they do want to get all of the important characters out there and playable. So or not playable, but at least, integrating them into the storyline in an important way. The next trailer we will know for sure, but not sure when we will see the next trailer. Yeah, I think they will definitely show Cid in the next trailer. They will give us like a teaser like they did with Vincent. Like, I can't imagine what that teaser is going to be. Is it going to be Cid, in his house cussing out, what's her name, Shira? Or is it going to be Cid standing next to the tiny Bronco? Is it going to be Cid with his giant leaning rocket in the background? Is he going to be in the rocket? It's possible we get DLC with Vincent and Cid. I could see us getting DLC with Vincent, because I think, I know Cid is an extremely popular character, but I also know that Vincent, even more so, is more popular. Hey, welcome, Brandon. Playable Vincent is great marketing for Part 3, I guess. I do understand, like, it's like they wanted to save something for Part 3. I get it. But man, I guess I'm just fuming over the fact that at least they could have given us Vincent, So they are saving 2 of the primary characters for the Part 3 of the trilogy. And part of me feels like they still could have given us access to those characters, and we were still going to love Part 3 regardless. But that's just me. And, that's how it's going to be. So I might as well just sit back and enjoy it. And I know I'm still going to love it, because everything else that I've seen over this past week has been absolutely incredible. Getting to see the banter between Cloud and Sephiroth, what are we going to call Flashback Cloud? We can call him like Clack or Zoud. I don't know. But getting to see that banter between them, it's really amazing. Seeing Sephiroth, like, even in Crisis Core, you still don't quite see Sephiroth in this light. Sephiroth is, an ally in Crisis Core, but he's not quite this friendly. And so we're seeing Sephiroth as a mentor and someone who really cares. And then we know right after that demo ends, everything's going to go south. And I get the feeling that we're going to get an extended version of that portion of it, where we get to witness Sephiroth lose his humanity. Vincent could get a 3-chapter DLC, and Cid could get a DLC that is 2 chapters. I'd be totally cool with that. I'd be totally good with that. They could focus on where they are from, how it was they came to join Shinra, their accomplishments up to their current situation. Yeah, definitely. And Vincent already has such a well fleshed out backstory, even more so than Cid's. So it would be interesting to see one from Cid, but Vincent's, man, like, just from what we know, Vincent has such a good story that has even more potential than Dirge of Cerberus did. Like, Dirge of Cerberus didn't even give his backstory any justice, as far as I'm concerned. Also, they showed Kyrie, which perhaps means we will very well could finally see Evan. Maybe. I think that would be cool. I still need to read that book, The Kids Are Alright. That would be like next on my list of things that I would need to read. That would be The Kids Are Alright. Brandon says, I'm really curious if they throw in some team attacks with Vincent in spite of him being a quest character, though. That will be interesting. There were certain things that you could do when Red 13 joined your party as a guest member that allowed him to, that triggered him to use special attacks. And I imagine Vincent could very well be the same way. It's a sad story. Yeah, I think Evan really misses his mother. Okay. Brennan says, prob not though, it appears you only do team attack with your main three party members. Okay. It's yeah, and since they said that Vincent's going to be like Red 13, they didn't say he's going to be like Sonnen. So yeah, it might be that certain things you do in battle trigger Vincent to do special attacks, but other than that, I don't foresee us getting much control over Vincent or Sid. Aside from that, hey, look, there's Maximilian, dude. And that was really cool seeing that at the very end there too. You get to swim. I never would have expected us to be able to swim in Remake and without a chocobo. That blew my mind. That blew my mind. Bummed out about not getting chocobo breeding. That was something that that's another thing that I was kind of wrong about. I anticipated that we would get to breed chocobos, but that we wouldn't be able to get access to the items we need to breed a golden chocobo. I'm actually more okay with than holding off Sid and Vincent as playable characters till Part 3. I'm actually okay that we aren't going to get to breed chocobos until Part 3, and I imagine that's what they're saving that for. But we still do get to, I think, capture chocobos. We get to ride chocobos, we get to summon them, we get to race them, we do level them up in some way and get to build some kind of bond with them so that we can take them to the racetracks. And there's going to be several different racetracks and racetrack variations at the Gold Saucer, so that's going to be something to look forward to. Definitely something to look forward to. Another thing, we might see it, oh no, it skipped to a different scene. Those crystals in the background. I was wondering if Shinra boxes were going to reappear, and if so, like, were they only going to be in certain locations? So it's really cool to see here that there is another thing on the map that we get to break to get stuff out of. So it's like some crystals, and I imagine I did see boxes in some other gameplay footage that weren't necessarily Shinra boxes, but that's still cool. But you'll reserve judgment and see how their new system works. I get that. Yeah, I totally get that. I hope they have chocobos of every color. That would be cool. I don't think they're going to have a gold chocobo. Just because that's like end game content right there. And even though we're going to get 100 hours of content in this game, it's crazy to say. This game isn't the end game. It's going to be Part 3 that's the end game. So it's going to be Part 3 where we get the High Wind, which would make it easier to transport chocobos, which will, give us access to new locations that we could never reach with just the tiny Bronco. And it will allow us just so much more flexibility in traversing the world map. So Golden Chocobo will definitely be Part 3, yeah. Yeah, it seems like Chocobos already have more depth than OG from what's shown. Absolutely, Brandon. That was one thing I was extremely happy to see. I was happy to see that we could pick up items without getting off the Chocobo, because that's annoying whenever one of the games was like, oh no, you got to get down from the Chocobo to talk to these people, and then summon it and get back on it. Oh, you want to pick up that item? You got to get off the Chocobo. So it's super exciting to see that they just thought about all that stuff. You can tell that they took the players into consideration. You can tell that they listened. They listened to like the not just Remake, but like the past 10 years of player commentary of this is what we want. And then your chocobos can traverse. They give you access to areas that you normally couldn't get to. And they can sniff out treasure. They can just sniff out treasure on the world map, so that's going to be cool too. I anticipated that Red 13 wasn't going to ride chocobos, and after seeing this footage, I'm so extremely excited to be wrong about that. Let me see if we get to that part. Where's that part at? Red 13 rides a freaking chocobo. It'll be somewhere in here. And it is like, I love the fact that the devs thought long and hard over how's Red gonna ride a chocobo? And they made it happen. Just like they made Kate Sith ride a giant fat Moogle. They made it happen. This part right here too. I love this UI right here for the pause menu. I freaking love the way it looks. It is absolutely amazing. And you can see, you know, the devs once again said that they took inspiration from games like Horizon and God of War, and that definitely has like a God of War feel to it, but it still has its own Final Fantasy twist. And I look forward to delving deeper into that as we get more and more information. Troubadour says, I have a feeling if we don't see Elf and learn more about Avalanche in this game, they will definitely turn up in Part 3 with Wutai. Yeah, which Wutai will be greatly expanded. I do love that. I did anticipate that they were going to save Wutai till Part 3 just because of how much they would have to cram into this game if they did include Wutai. And Wutai was a side content. They took both of the side contents, Fort Condor and Wutai, and it was confirmed that Wutai has been moved to Part 3. Not confirmed that Fort Condor is solely Part 3. The characters do talk about Fort Condor, and a giant condor comes and snatches one of the Sephiroth clones. So they definitely allude to Fort Condor, and then there's one moment in one of the videos on YouTube where the camera turns and you can see a far off island that looks like it's like this really sharp peak and it has something on top. I don't know if that was meant to be Fort Condor in the distance or if Fort Condor is too far away to view. Either way, I'm going to be fine with it. It'll be interesting to see if we are able to get to Fort Condor with the tiny Bronco and if there's any content there, but we can guarantee that Fort Condor will be at least in Part 3 because of the huge materia quest that you have to go on after the events of the first disc. Troubadour, I think there may be a new island that's not one of them on the map that may be revealed in Part 3. Some huge secrets about the Cetra may be revealed. That would also be cool. I think it would be amazing if, you know, we have the Temple of the Ancients, and then we have the Forgotten Capital, which confirmed is where, you know, the new game will end. It would be awesome if we were able to find other ruins of the Ancients. That would be absolutely amazing. And with the world building that they have just shown in this game, I see it being absolutely possible. That background right there too looks very reminiscent of the Temple of the Ancients too. Like it looks like it would be like a modern day version of it, you know, or like just like upgraded graphics of it. Also, side note, Katana, aka Balto, one of the player Turks from Before Crisis, is from Gungaga and has black hair and could potentially be related to Zack. That's pretty cool. I never knew that. Tucker, you say, yeah, I bet they deviate the most in the third part, or in third game. Chasing the huge materia wasn't the most interesting part of the OG, so that would be the place to change the story. You know, I think they'll still... It is interesting because we know that so much is going to change. It'll be interesting to see if they even still go after the huge materia. That is a good statement. But I feel like because the devs say, yes, we are still going to hit all those beats from the original, I feel like we are still going to go after the huge materia, but they're going to make it so much more fun, just like they've done with all these other scenarios. Wolftail says, this will be the easiest gaudy win in the history of the Game Awards. Oh, yeah. Game of the Year. If this can't make Game of the Year, holy crap. Like, what game came out that would surpass it? Let's see, Troubadour says, I think the backstory of the Knights of the Round will be hugely expanded as well. They could be knights from an era come and gone in Gaia. Yeah, and there is evidence to suggest absolutely that there's a reason for them to expand upon that. Obviously, because the Knights of the Round were past heroes who were basically embodied in materia form. So yeah, I could definitely see that, and I know that's a popular theory too, and it is a fun sounding theory as well. I have nothing against that theory at all. I think it'd be cool. Let's see, what else? So much to talk about. Oh yeah, another thing. Let me find the footage in here. It's very brief footage that's in this particular video. They've got the bottom swell there, which is now Terror of the Deep, which I'm totally cool with. And I really think it's cool that they implemented that, the Terror of the Deep, instead of attacking the little girl, is now attacking Yuffie, and the dolphin is still there, which is hilarious. Yeah, also hope we see Dene. If she wasn't in Rebirth, I could absolutely see her being in Part 3. And I think, in the original game, this is another area where I think that they're going to shine. In the original game, once the characters' side arcs, like the side characters' side arcs were over with, like Barrett, Red 13, Yuffie, and several others, once they had fulfilled their own short destiny, like Barrett seeing Dying again, Red 13 making it to Cosmo Canyon and realizing that his father, wasn't a coward, he was actually a hero. Those characters kind of go into the background and they're just kind of there. And I think a storyline with Dene would absolutely be, a way to expand upon Red 13's story arc, and as I'm sure that they're going to expand upon everybody's story arcs as well. Imagine the Barrett 1v1 with Dyne. Oh my god, yeah. Wolftails also says, so confirmed boss mechanics will be translated from OG quite faithfully. Can't wait to see Demon Wall. I would love to see Demon Wall, yeah. I would love to see it just pushing us down this long corridor, and obviously there is this deep chasm at the end, and you could even run over to it and be like, oh yeah, that's a deep chasm. We gotta kill this thing. I do hope that it is a one-on-one between Barrett and Dyne as well. I would love to see that. They really just need to remake Before Crisis. I look forward to seeing Before Crisis in Ever Crisis. And I hate to say it because I know they want to make Ever Crisis last as long as possible. I get the feeling it's going to be a long time before we start seeing Ever Crisis chapters Before Crisis chapters in Ever Crisis. But yeah, and I think that people seeing Before Crisis in the mobile game could be a great indicator of whether they do plan to remake that as well. And then just the fact that we are eventually going to get before Crisis in the same quality as the rest of these characters. You know, these other characters are like downgraded qualities from the PS5 games. I could absolutely see them being like, hey, look, we just created all these high-res models of all these before Crisis people. Guess what's coming next? And then there's still Final Fantasy VII content that has yet to be revealed. There is Final Fantasy VII content that is yet to be revealed that they said had nothing to do with the trilogy, if I'm not mistaken. This was like an interview from a while back. So maybe that's Ever Crisis in some form, but they'll have the assets, so why not? Let's see. Troubadour says, I think the Diane and Barrett story is one they really need to expand. Oh yeah, I'd love to see. I think they'll expand upon all the stories. I think once it comes out on Ever Crisis, the demand will be there for Before Crisis. Absolutely, I agree with that. Honestly, they are going to milk this cash cow for a long time. I also wouldn't be surprised to see a First Soldier spin-off pop up. Yeah, and that's the whole purpose of a mobile game like that, is they do want it to they want it to be a steady source of income for the company for as many years as possible. And so that's why it worries me that maybe they're going to save Before Crisis for later on. I would be totally fine if like Before Crisis was the next one to come out, and then it was Advent Children and Dirge of Cerberus that were the last ones to be made. I'd be totally okay with that. But yeah, they're going to absolutely keep this game running for as long as possible, because gotchas are a great source of income if you create a successful game, and so far I can safely say I've enjoyed Ever Crisis a lot more than I enjoyed the mobile game The First Soldier last year when it came out. Gotchas will gotcha, yeah. That's funny. Oh yeah, there's Red 13 riding, and there he is jumping off the chocobo. Let's back that up. And then this chocobo customization too. Like, my goodness. And then following the chocobo chick to different chocobo stops to get them back up and running. Every little picking up items right there, and then seeing the different items that you're picking up. It looks like there's going to be a lot of good crafting going on in this game. More so than in Final Fantasy XVI. I feel like the crafting in Final Fantasy XVI is very bare bones, and I do hope that this one is a little bit more in depth than that. Also, I would love to see them use the lore that they left out of Cobalt 14 and Indigo 15. Yeah. There we go. Now I can actually see y'all's full texts. Yeah, I remember you saying that you were working on a fanfic. But yeah, I was thrilled. And this game looks beautiful too. We all knew it was going to look good. Like, we all knew it was going to look good, but man, it looks absolutely insane. The footage that we have of I'm gonna back it up here. I can't remember what part of this video it was in. Oh, I love this part right here too. They put it in. They put the dolphin in, and he helps in combat. I also hope we can go back and explore other parts of Midgar that were unexplorable. I don't know that we'll do that, just because we didn't have access to it in in the OG, after we left Midgar, we had to find a special item, a key, in order to get us access back to it. Um, but it is going to be interesting to see where we go with Zack and how many different times we see Zack throughout the story. But also confirmed in this footage and in interviews and in the description of the cover art that we are dealing with multiple times, possibly multiple timelines, because it in the depiction or in the description that the directors give, it is Sephiroth dividing these two different timelines of Zack and Cloud. So, and then this rebirth is Sephiroth wanting to have this reunion of these timelines under his own command. So, whatever happens in the Forgotten Capital, it's going to be huge. The one theory timeline crafters were kind of shocked. I I felt that there were at least two different timelines, although I didn't know if we were going to see both of them in this game because it was unclear at the end of Remake and even with some of the trailer information whether, you know, these characters had been transported over to Zack's timeline and so they had left the old timeline behind, but after seeing, you know, some stamp logos, especially in the gameplay footage, like there's obvious stamp logos, Beagle logos in the gameplay. So our Beagle universe characters are still in the Beagleverse, and then Zack is probably still in the Terrierverse. You wonder if Minerva may intervene. The one timeline. Oh yeah, some were not happy about that. Yeah. Wolf tells she dies. Okay. It will be interesting what stuff from the compilation they do decide to put in. I feel like, honestly, like Minerva could be end game content, and knowing what we know now, I don't want Sephiroth to be the final boss again, but I also, here's another thing, and I meant to go over this when I talked about Sephiroth being playable. I do hope that since they made Sephiroth playable, that they have a really, really good reason for doing so, but I hope that reason is not a redemption arc. We don't need a redemption arc for Sephiroth. We just don't. I'm going to back this up so you can see some of the earlier footage. Cloud on a Segway, so yeah. And that doctor there is confirmed to be Traces of Two Pasts doctor, one of the ones from Corel, North Corel, who worked on Tifa after the Nibelheim incident. We could end up getting a Sephiroth redemption arc, but it would be at the very end. That's just me. I don't want it. Give some other villain in some other Final Fantasy a redemption arc. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is, let's see. So we were able to confirm, you know, I was absolutely wrong about Sephiroth being playable, or him not being playable. I was definitely wrong about some of the stuff involving chocobos, and then I did theorize that the two locations were going to be out of sync, and so it'll be interesting to see how that gets implemented. And here's another thing too. I wonder what side characters we're going to see in Rebirth, because Don Corneo, the next time he shows up is in Wutai. So are we going to see Don Corneo again in Rebirth, or is it going to be all the way till Wutai that we see him again in the third game? Guys, let me know what y'all think. Let me know what side characters from Remake we're going to see in Rebirth. I do hope that we see Roche as well. You need to finish Trails to Azure before Rebirth. I need to finish Final Fantasy XVI and Final Fantasy II. I stopped playing Final Fantasy II to play Final Fantasy XVI. And I need to finish 16, and I definitely want to finish 2 so that I can give my personal thoughts on 2 as well. Johnny, yeah, absolutely. Johnny's going to be in Costa del Sol. He's going to be at the Gold Saucer. He's going to probably be somewhere in Junon. I look forward to seeing Johnny pop up in all these areas. FF2 is amazing. It has a good story. I agree there, compared, especially when you think of Final Fantasy I, the original Final Fantasy, just being no-name characters, kind of just along for the ride in other people's short stories that you come upon in Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy II having named characters, even though I'm sure, you could change their names, they were named characters with personalities and story arcs and a main villain, and a much more fleshed out world, I think, so far that I've played. It's really been interesting to see what they implemented in Final Fantasy II compared to just 1. I think we might see Marl, maybe even Betty and her father, since she is Marlene's best friend. Actually used Marl and Betty in the fanfic. Okay. Everybody else who's hanging out in the chat, yeah, let me know what characters y'all are looking forward to seeing. I heard my dog barking. I was like, oh no, am I gonna have to go check on the dog? So yeah, definitely, it's going to be interesting to see where we run into Roche. I would like to think it's going to be in Junon, but so far we haven't seen any evidence that he's going to reappear. We absolutely got Andrea, which I was shocked to see. We've got... I don't know that we'll see Chocobo Sam. I don't know that we'll see Madame M. I would love to see Leslie. If we see Don Corneo, we're absolutely going to have another Leslie arc in Rebirth. Let's see, I think Roche will be that abandoned infantryman from the Nibelheim incident. If we have seen Kyrie, we will definitely see Leslie. Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely see that. I mean, if they've added Kyrie, surely they're going to add Leslie. Brandon says Roche. Yeah. And I would think if we encounter Roche, he would be a soldier second class. Like, I would think that would be fun to see. Like, he is progressing through the ranks because he wants to beat Cloud, and of course Cloud is also getting stronger, so at each passing moment they encounter each other. Once again, it's like Cloud beats him and Roche is like, I have to get stronger, and eventually Roche is going to be like the new soldier first class. And it's interesting because, there were soldier first classes other than these named ones that we had in Crisis Core. What a beautiful shot right there. This exploration is going to be so amazing. There it is. I'm going to pause it right here. That's another thing I wanted to talk about. Oh, it went away. gonna wait for him to go back to Junon, to the Junon Undercity. It was really fun to see that new character they added. She was like the deputy sheriff. Right there, I'm gonna pause it. Junon, the fishing village of Junon looks amazing. Like, it looks like it's the size of one of the sectors in Final Fantasy VII Remake. Like, that's at least as big as Sector 5, you know, like the main portion of Sector 5 where most of the people lived. I wonder if we may see Nero, Vice, and the other Sviets. You know what? They had them in Remake. They've got to do something with them. They've absolutely set them up to play more important roles in Rebirth and in the third part of the trilogy. That would be insane if Zack meets Sonon and Yuffie was the one who died. Oh, that'd be weird. Troubadour says Rhonda as well. Brandon, wonder if we will see any of the 3 Avalanche from Yuffie DLC if they are presumed dead from Platefall. I do wonder that as well. I assumed that they were presumed dead, even though they knew about Platefall. So they could have had time to get out of there, and obviously they weren't involved in the fight for the pillar. But it is possible, I mean, that some of them got out. Maybe they were helping people evacuate. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've gone almost an hour talking here. You know, and once again, my original concept was to try and come up with a bunch of short videos talking about all these different aspects. But once again, in this past week, we have gotten so much information that every time I thought, okay, I'm going to make a video about this, that information became obsolete. So the only option was just to have a live stream where we could just talk about all this and just have footage playing in the background. But it looks amazing. Once again, I've loved everything that I've heard about this game, with the exception of Sephiroth being playable and Vincent not being playable. And you know what? By proxy, Sid as well. I'm still looking forward so much to playing this game, and it looks like they have absolutely created an incredible experience. That's going to be my party right there. Cloud, Red, and Aerith. That's going to be it. Alright, y'all. It's been fun. Thank you guys for joining me in the chat, and those of you who have just been hanging out in the background, I appreciate you guys being here too. I hope you guys will check out more board game and video game videos on the FailroadExpress, including more Final Fantasy VII Rebirth content to come, and eventually I'm going to get back to playing more Final Fantasy XVI, and of course you can join us on the Discord. I forgot to put the link in here, but we do have a permanent link now, and I'll be sure to put that in there later. So, hope you guys have a great weekend, and I will see you guys in the next video. See ya.